Hello, everyone, and welcome to Authenticity. My name is Anna Toothman, and my guest today is Julia. Julia, can you help me with your last name?
Yes, it's Yesner, my maiden name, and Weiss, Weiss. That's my married name, Weiss.
Well, welcome back. I'm so honored to have you back. Last time we had you on, we had you with your co pilot, as you called her, Susan from Transmissions. You're a co host as a podcaster yourself. And the reason why I wanted to have you back is so that you can share a bit of your story with the listeners and that may relate to some of their awakening journey or their remembering that will assist them. Perhaps they're feeling these things now that we may have felt a few years back.
Yeah, well, it was a journey. I'm actually feeling a lot of energy now. The whole weekend, I was exhausted. And this morning, I actually felt relief. I felt like you do when you have a good workout and then you go into the jacuzzi, like just some relief, which is great. And then as the day went on, I started to get a little tired again. So I'm a little bit in that mode right now where I'm trying to, I had another Zoom call for an hour and a half. So I was doing a lot of teaching on that call. So I'm just like, wow. So I'm trying to see, oh, okay, I'm getting a transmission. The best thing to do. So I just want everyone to know about the energies. I'm very sensitive to all the energies. So I can explain kind of like how they're affecting me. They're going to affect everybody differently, but there is like a group thing, I think, with all this. Um, so I was kind of always, not always psychic, but always kind of connected to spirit. And growing up in the 60s was like, I thought the world was insane. Like people have to go to work, they have to drive and commute, and there's backups on the highway to get to work. And most people don't like their jobs, and you have to live for money. And then we had the Vietnam War on our TV every night. And you had the, that horrible picture of that little girl running naked from the napalm. And so this is, you know, I just thought like leaders are crazy. Like, who would even want to have war? Like, it's just nuts. And I remember I was 9 years old, and the first song I ever memorized that was a rock song was the Fifth Dimension, The Age of Aquarius, of course.
Mm.
And when I heard that song, it touched me in such a way. And I was so connected to the dawning of the age of Aquarius, the constellations when they're all together. Like that was like I memorized over and over again. I sang it over and over. It's still like it still affects me. And then of course we had Star Trek. And when I watched Star Trek, I connected to that. And I was like, I wish to God that was real. Like there really was a federation, and guess what? There is. Uh, that whole like he was downloaded. He didn't actually at the time believe. I think Roddenberry, but he was so downloaded, like with everything, and just getting to know the different cultures. And so I was always kind of connected, and I was raised Jewish. But I just noticed that, no offense, but when you're in the synagogue and you're going through a service, you don't really feel anything. You're doing responsive reading, and there is a spiritual aspect to Judaism called Kabbalah, and that kind of like that's under the rug. That's where you get all your healing and all the spiritual stuff that we kind of talk about in our community. All the religions have that, but it's
Mhm.
been shoved under the rug during the Middle Ages. They kind of shoved everything under the rug, and I was always kind of searching, and I always kind of believed that we weren't alone. But the one consistent thing I constantly had was dreams that were very lucid, and I would dream as a little kid, maybe 4 or 5 years old, all the way to teenage. I would dream of ships coming to pick me up
Mm.
at my house. And I would be in my backyard in the night looking up, and the ships would come, and I could see all the different lights underneath. And one time I was at a lake, different places. Sometimes I was at the mall. And I just remember there was an excitement about them coming, but also a fear. So so I kind of always believed, but I never actually, you believe it, but I never saw one. So it's just my dreams. And then communion came out, and that scared the crap out of me. And the one thing I also had my whole life was sleep paralysis. So if you don't know what that is, it's like when you're trying to wake up and you can't move, and it actually hurts to wake up. So it's like your mind hurts, and it almost feels like your mind was taken from you and it's trying to come back. And out of body experiences have the same thing. So it's like, so I think mine was more both physically taken and mentally taken.
Yeah. At what age did that start?
It was my whole life. And I also was super, super sensitive. I could feel people. I could go into a room and I could feel the energy in the room. My mother was always, she was very unemotional. So she would always call me, too sensitive, this, that, and the other thing. And it was really hard growing up because, and all my friends, all of them were like narcissists. So it's like, I always had to kowtow to my friends, like make, they're not mad so it was like, it was that typical relationship of an empath and a narcissist and
Sure.
different groups. And I never felt I belonged here. And it was just very, very strange. And my parents were like very, if you ever watch that show, Mad Men, that was my parents. Very 1960s, beautiful mother, gorgeous father. They always went out, they had friends, they dressed. Everything was about looks and about, you don't talk about this stuff. Um,
Yeah.
and it was, I just didn't feel like I belonged in that family. And I was born when my mother was close to 40. So all of my brothers were born already. So it was really interesting. I had different things go on. And my father died when I was 11, which really affected my family. And my brothers were going through an adjustment period. They were much older than me. Most of them were in college already. And they were going through maybe the Eastern religions. And then two of them became born again. And in the early 70s, it was different. It was like we met at each other's houses, and I used to go with my brother to these meetings, and it just gave a sense of purpose. And I kind of believed in Jesus. I just didn't. Eventually, I got to believe it, but then there was like they finally found a building, and there was a group, but it was very controlling, almost like a cult kind of mentality. You had to there was no individual thinking, and the idea of hell didn't make sense to me. It just didn't make sense. You're not born just to go to hell, and then you have to repent. Like for what? It's like we're walking here. No offense to Christians. So I kind of like I'm offending everybody. I'm a full offender. So I've been through pretty much everything, and then I was part of this group with my brothers till I was about 21. And then I'm like, I've had enough. It's not, I can't deal with it. It's not really what I'm looking for. So I kind of left that, and I eventually started in my mid-20s going to a Buddhist group, which I really, really found perfect. And I met my husband there. We still go to meetings and stuff, and he's very into it. I was part of it. It's the Japanese Buddhism where you chant Nam-myoho Renge-kyo, and
Mm.
it's about the mentor which just passed, President Ikeda, always was about world peace. So So we're still a part of it, but I actually take the best of all religions. I don't chant anymore because I find my meditation practice, I connect like this to
Sure.
source. I'm a connect, I source is like we connect like this, and I feel the energy of God. So why would I chant for 6 hours a day when I can just connect in 5 minutes? So but he's very, very supportive, and he goes to all my things. We met Todd and Morgan in Florida,
Yeah.
and we went to that conference, and that's when I discovered, I have a healing ability because it was a healing conference. And so it wasn't until I had a hysterectomy at 47, and I stopped having I was still having what do you call them? Where you're paralyzed, the paralyzed.
The sleep paralysis.
Yeah, yeah, I was still having that, but it stopped right after, you know, there were other things, marks on the body, different things. And right about that time, my son had gone to college. And when you've lived your whole life for a child and they go away, it kind of, my husband and I looked at each other like, who are you? And what do we do now? And I was like, well, what am I interested in? And I'm like, well, UFOs are fun. And oh, I saw one. I saw this like circle in the sky, like a gray disc. And I was like, wow, that's cool. And I followed it for like 20 minutes. We were driving. And I said, I better, somebody from work told me, why don't you report it to MUFON? It's an organization that they investigate this stuff. So I reported it. Long story short, I was an investigator at MUFON for 8 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I went to all the conferences, and I had a lot of military guys. I can honestly say there are men in black. And my phone, everything was, when I was doing the investigations, especially with the military people, I have black helicopters constantly around my house. We
Mhm.
had a country club membership. I was in the pool, helicopter over the pool. I couldn't believe it. And that would happen when I interviewed the military guys, not so much the regular people, but friends of mine that were computer experts would go into my computer and they said the US Navy's in your computer.
Mm.
We can tell the different things that was going on. My phone was tapped, and my phone would mysteriously shut off, like different things when I was talking to the military guys. And so, I was going to conferences, and then I was asked to do a radio show, which called Starborn Support, which helped alien abductees have a community where they could just tell their story and not be laughed at or anything. And they also have conferences in Maine. So as I was interviewing people with my partner in crime at that time, Mike Melton, um, I realized, sounds really familiar. I can really relate to a lot of this stuff. It makes kind of sense that maybe I was. And and then memories started to come back, and lucid dreams started to come back. And then I realized, I was. And I would go to the conferences, and everybody was psychic at the conference, and they would tell me, you've been taken, this, that. Um, and I saw ships close up. We would be at the lake. They had a beautiful lake there in a lake house, and I would see the ships come and go. And one time I was in the tent with one of the girls that are still being taken. They were twins, the humans twins. So I was in with Debbie, and she was taken. And she told me the next morning that I was holding on to her feet while she was being taken. And I don't remember that, but I do remember someone whispering in my ear to go back to sleep. And I
Mhm.
kind of woke up, and she wasn't there, and I heard this voice, and I fell asleep. And so it finally dawned on me, yeah, you were abducted. I don't have a memory of waking up and seeing what was going on, um, but my friends have. A lot of them, I'm very good with anesthesia, but some people aren't, and they wake up or whatever it is they gave them to. So, so I had to deal with the fear of that for the first time in my life. I'm a housewife. I raised a family, and now there's aliens, and I was abducted. But they're not evil because I'm still here. They're not killing
Sure.
us. They're putting us back. So they're not evil. There's something going on. I heard I had, through channelings and different things, that I had hybrid children. And then I felt this like deep love for these hybrid children. I have no idea where they are. Um, but I wanted to have contact at one time. I don't think it ever happened, but so you're having to deal with that. Now you have this life where you go to synagogue at the high holy days, and you're going to the Buddhist group, and you're taking your kid to soccer, and there's aliens. So you have to like balance this,
Yeah,
and it can make some people crazy.
sure.
With me, it just kind of made me stronger. And at the same time, all this was going on, I think I had the show for 8 years, Starburn Support Radio. I think it was on KGR, I don't know, one of those stations. Um, I uh, I started to read Eckhart Tolle's book, and I realized I had. So I started to do shadow work before it even was like a thing.
I think.
So
Yeah.
I started to uh, go into meditation, and there were things what I needed to get rid of. I think at that time, I think a lot of it was jealousy
Mhm.
and trying to keep up with the Joneses. That was I'm a suburban housewife. That's a big thing. Everybody has their Louis Vuitton bags, which I have, but it's like, it's like this other people have bigger house or whatever it is. There was some jealousy, and I was really surprised because I'm really a spiritual person. Like, usually I'm not, but I think it was past friendships and past um a lot of the narcissist people. One of them passed away, but it was a girlfriend since 5 years old. And it was also dealing with self-esteem, those
Yeah.
self-esteem issues. And so I noticed that my jealousy of certain people and things started to go away. I didn't care so much about it. Was nice to have nice things, but it wasn't a big deal. I really
Right.
loved my house, didn't have to be a mansion. Um, And I had this nice group of girlfriends that I would go out with all the time. And so, and then I felt that Eckhart Tolle says when you read the book, there might be a transformation that you will feel, or some sort of feeling. And I did feel it. It was like a euphoric feeling, And I had a Reiki session, and wow, I had a Reiki. I was like stuffed up. But this woman, the American Indian woman, did a Reiki session on me, and she was doing the Archangel Raphael thing with the feather. I felt I felt so happy for like a whole month. I was so happy. And I'm like, so angels are real. We got aliens, we got angels. And then eventually it was like realizing that Jesus is real, but it's not the Jesus. Like, it's not, it's different. There's not a judgment. You have a life review. So I was so spiritually like absorbing so many books. People that had OBEs, death experiences, they would come back. Like, suddenly my dots started to come together. And I'm like, there's a plethora of beings out there, and we can choose who we want to interact with. And so we have the aliens, we have fairies, we have all the ascended masters. I prefer to work with Jesus and Mary.
Mhm.
Um, I don't want to spread myself too thin. I did the Saint Germain transmutation stuff, which is wonderful. And I'm not one of those people that says this is bad and that's bad, and everything's good. It's all intention, how you use things. That's my personal point of view. So, but I've kind of gone back to Yeshua, to Jesus, to just deal with that energy. And I feel I need a mother's love. I'll go to Mary, and I'll
Yeah.
ask her to come in. Because my parents are all gone now, so I miss them. And every once in a while, even at our age, we still want our parents' love. We still want to have that warmth. So,
Let's fast forward to now in the last few years.
mm,
And now that you have all this awareness and you have these realizations and you've connected all the dots, where are you on your spiritual maturity and your authenticity to self and self-worth? Where's Julia now in 2024?
lots of self-worth. That's something new. Um, say no, learning how to say no to people, places, and things. I had a lot of things I was invited to this year, a lot of interesting things, trips to Europe, and so I'm like, no.
Mm,
I needed to heal. I had some physical healing that I needed to get done. And learning how to listen to my body.
yeah,
Because when I started this spiritual journey, it's been about maybe it was about 8 years since my retreat that I went to, where I started to do the work, the healing work, the trauma.
sure.
Um, and I really just wanted to be alone. And I started feeling the energies really strongly. The solar flares, a solar flare would put me in bed. A next flare would put me in bed for an hour or two.
Right,
And so I stopped working I guess about 7 years ago. I stopped working. I couldn't, I was too dizzy all the time. I had panic attacks. So I had to work through I had to learn how to bring the energy through.
right,
When I started getting psychic, I started getting, really, I don't see dead people, thank God, but I can feel them in the room and I can feel
sure.
what they're saying. I know what they're saying. And then I think I had one telepathic thing where I went to, I think it was Mount Mount Adams in Washington. There's a ranch there, East Ranch. They do the night watches. So everybody left, and I'm all alone in this field with two other people, and this ship comes, a huge ship, and there was telepathy. And the reason why the ship wasn't coming, there were like 100 people in the field, nothing happened. As soon as everybody left, it was just me and two other people, and I meditated on world peace. And my passion is the happiness and joy of everyone in planet Earth, and for everyone to go to New Earth. And I don't believe we all go together. I think it's different times when we're ready. And when I prayed that prayer, the ship showed up and it was freezing. And I heard, it's freezing. We're not going to be here for long. This is the last thing we're going to do. We heard your prayer. And I don't
Mm,
know if I went on the ship or not. I have no memory of that. But the next day, this friend of mine that started the trip there, said, "Oh, that was he got from Metatron that they purposely showed themselves to me because it's part, it was them, Pleiadians, the Pleiadian star system. So I've seen hybrids and things like that. And then I realized there's a spiritual element. It's not just physical. There's like a spiritual element to all of this.
yeah,
And it my journey is to it now. Now I can function much better. I
sure.
still get dizzy. I don't get panic attacks, but I do get busy, and I actually can't even drive anymore. I get very dizzy in the car, so I can't really drive. So I kind of like was praying about it, and then I'm really learning releasing. That's what I'm learning in this. At 62 years old, I'll be 63 next in a couple weeks. Um,
Will
I'm
you give us an example of what you mean that you're working with releasing at the moment for those of us who may
oh,
don't understand what you mean that you're working with releasing? What are you releasing per
I
se, and
am
how do you do that?
I am releasing, in other words, when I do maybe a half hour, an hour in the morning, it depends. Sometimes it's 10 minutes. I do my prayers and I clear the energies, and I'll ask for prayers for other people and myself and whatever. And then I go into meditation. Prayer is asking, talking to God, and meditation is listening. And so what's the answer? So part of that is when I clear my energies, I, I'm 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 verbally telling God, I surrender the next step of the journey for the most benevolent outcome for my highest happiness and highest good. So I have all these plans in my mind that I think are going to make me happy. Like I just wanted to be a grandmother so bad. And
Mhm.
I thought that was going to make me so happy and I won't need anything else and da da da. I have a wonderful, beautiful grandson. And I am very happy. But that's outside myself. That's not me. And I'm learning how to be incredibly happy with it doesn't matter what's going on outside. And as you can see, um, the way our life is right now, the politics, the wars, it's heavy. And a lot of people are tired. A lot of people are their systems are being, even people that don't even believe in this stuff are really going through a hard time.
Sure.
And surrendering is like, all right, I can't really do anything about it, but I choose to be happy in this now moment. I choose happiness. I choose joy. I choose to find a passion. I don't know what my passion. I do love talking, as you can see. I like to teach. I like to share, and that's fun. I love doing the show. But I'm sure there's artistic talents that'll come out. That I had them when I was younger, and then I kind of lost them. But uh, it's kind of like, all right, I can't drive anymore. I really want to drive. Oh, there's Uber. Okay. I'm just going to give it to God because fighting it, and a lot of my friends, they have no idea. They're like, just get in the car and drive. I say, really? You get on the intersection and have a panic attack, and you've got cars going this, and no.
Yeah.
And I want to I used to be the best driver. I was so confident. I said, there's a reason why I'm not driving now. Maybe it's for my highest protection. So
Mhm.
it's like you're accepting what is and knowing that it will change, whether it's bad or good. But you want it to be in the highest alignment of, and that's not easy because believe me, it's not easy. We have our preconceptions of what makes us happy. So it's not the physical things outside ourselves or the money we have or I mean, yes, I'm happier because I can pay my bills. It's not a lot of people can't pay their bills and it causes a lot of stress. But it's like getting that stress, living in the now moment and not having, that's kind of surrendering when you're in the now moment, which is, I find to get there is breathing. Like I'll breathe 5 in, hold it, breathe 5 out. And I usually breathe in bliss. So I'm picturing this golden diamond energy, this like golden sparkling stuff, delicious stuff. And I'm breathing it in and I'm holding it and I let it out slowly. And I'll do it as long as it takes till I start feeling good. And I kind of stopped watching the news. Like I'll watch the weather and maybe some local stuff so I know where to go for dinner. But when they start with the politics, I'm not done. Um, I
I
know
wanted to go back, Julia, to that state of being happy. We were talking, you were saying, not needing to have things outside of us, or if I had this, or if I could drive, then I'm going to be happy, or I'm going to have happiness in my life when this occurs. And the true gift that I feel and receive is it's the state of being. You find joy in the most mundane places. When you reach that place of such self love and gratitude, other than, oh, I'm grateful for that I have this, it is a state of being. So that you're constantly in that moment, regardless of what is happening around you, that state of joy and gratitude is consistent. And that's really what we're working on is
it's
realizing that it's always there.
Mhm.
It never left.
It's like you're remembering what you
Yeah.
used to be before all the programming. You know, we have the programming from school, from our parents, from our peers, and we lost our authentic self just
Mhm.
to get by in this lifetime. And that's where we're moving. That's where these energies are moving to 5 and 6 and 7 dimensional consciousness, is we're not going to have that anymore. We're going to know who we really are and see others the way God sees them, even if
Mhm.
they disagree with us. And that's my biggest thing right now, is like, I'm trying to get this, I'm trying to help people in the spiritual community not to take sides. It's
Yeah.
like we're just here, we're just doing our roles, and we're exactly where we need to be. And I had this poor woman who wrote on Facebook. I just friended her, and she was writing how she can't talk to her family. They don't this, that, and the other thing. There's stuff, and I said, well, I was going to write her, but Source always tells me not to respond to these things, to just send the energy, because then it will be a fight online. And so, but you don't have to be separated from your family. Or I have friends that have all kinds of belief systems. I
Mhm.
want to have everyone like me, and all these we'll just bring, all these different things, like whatever the subject is, whether it's science, medicine, education, whoever's running for office. There's all these things that came up in the past. So I'm not going to, what they are, but I'm not going to. Okay. Um, um, it caused separation, whatever
Yeah.
the subject is,
Yeah.
to the point where people are mad at each other. And that has to do with ego. And what's happening now is when Christ consciousness energy comes down, we're releasing our ego, the negative parts of our ego. We have a positive ego that keeps us alive, but then we have the negative ego where we can't be told anything else other than our own belief system.
Yeah.
And once we give that to God and just let it go, every morning I pray to all belief systems to leave me that no longer serve me. And
Sure.
that's not easy, because I do have opinions, you know.
Sure. Let
So
us talk a little more in depth about this subject, about being okay with the fact that people don't have to believe us. And we have to be okay with everyone's, we don't have to do anything. I'm trying to find the right words. Everyone is exactly where they need to be for
mhm,
their soul's journey and soul's growth. So whatever is in front of them that they're working on is
mhm,
what they need to be in. And so if we can find acceptance that we're exactly where we all need to be, regardless of belief systems, political views, religion, financing, gender, regardless of any of this, that everyone has a birthright to be here, that everyone has a birthright to love who they want to love, to believe what they want to believe, and live the way they want to live. And it is not my job or my service work to tell them otherwise.
mhm, right.
I like or love someone and I spend time with people that are similar frequency or have this attraction towards these friends. And we may not be working on the same things. I'm not an artist, and a really good friend of mine paints. I have another one that is a runner, and I love to run, but I can't. We don't all have maybe the same common things, like that we're doing creatively, but we're all bringing something to the table. And we all just enjoy the fact that we are authentic to ourselves. And when we allow that the joy just naturally unfolds when you just allow somebody to be there, who they are. And generally, the conversation will shift.
My family, who's born again Christian or Jewish, they're Messianic Jews. Sometimes the conversation, I'd have to really watch what I said. And I finally just said, you know what, I'm just going to meet them where they are.
Yeah.
And I'll use, I believe in Jesus. So, I don't think he's God. I think he's a ascended master, but we're going to just pray to Jesus. We're just going to, when they come over and we have dinner, I'm like, let's pray.
Mhm.
I meet them halfway.
Right.
And then we discuss things we know we agree on. And that's world peace. It's we share. And so that's like the biggest thing right now is that, the negative energies are leaving and they're
Mhm.
giving us a fight. And the fight is every subject is a separation issue. And we want to step above that. And every morning I pray to love everyone the way I want to be loved and see them the way God sees them. And also see myself because we judge ourselves a lot. and so when the ego goes and it's balanced and you're allowing God's energy to work in you, then you change and then everything around you changes and then it affects but it takes a while and it's okay if you're not there yet. And the other thing is like the conspiracy theory stuff. It's like I never was into that because I did a lot of protection prayers over
Mhm.
my computer, my phone. I'm a little crazy. I did,
I love
but
it. I love it.
I never got into like all the stuff that a lot of the spiritual community got into. And I'm actually, different groups I belong to, people are still talking about this. And I just give it to God. I'm like, I love you. I don't believe what you believe, but I love you. But we both believe in God and we both believe in all this spiritual stuff. It's just that I don't believe in some, I think a lot of that's made up. There are conspiracies, there are things,
Mhm.
but that's like to me it's a distract. Source told me it's all on YouTube. It's mostly a distraction. It's mostly not true. They take a little truth and they blow it out, but it's about our relationship with spirit and how we can feel the energy and how we can change things. You have to know when something's not right, like you can't ignore the news altogether. You have to say, okay, there's a war going on. I know that. It's pretty bad. Okay, I pray for the most benevolent outcome for both sides. I asked Mother Mary to come. Oh, I'm gonna cry
It's okay. You can cry.
because of the little children
Yeah.
that are without their parents anymore, and they lost their whole family. And they probably hate me because I'm Jewish. They probably hate me, but I love them and I want them to prosper. And I want this all to change. So what can I do to change it? And all I know how to do is pray and be kind to everybody. My doctor's Muslim and I love her. I love her. We have so much fun. She's one of the best doctors I've ever had, and she understands all the women's issues. And we talk a little bit about this, and we have a mutual intellectual understanding of things, but we both love God in different ways. And it's getting out of yourself and seeing the other as God sees them and being the bridge. We are the bridge to each other.
Mhm.
And so, but it's all going to change. I believe it's happening now. The energies are coming in and we're slowly, that's why it's crazy and nuts. But you can ask your team, your spirit guides, you can ask Source, you can ask Yeshua, whoever you, Allah, whoever you love, or whatever God's name is to you, you give it to God. How can I serve others? How can I help others? How can I make it better? What is it I need to let go of? And it took me 10 years. I'm still working on it. But the self-esteem is big. Once you really get your self-esteem, you start attracting into your life great people, finances. It doesn't mean I don't have problems. I have things might show up financially, and then 10 minutes later, I get an answer. I'm
Sure.
serious. And the synchronicities. This is so funny. I have to say this. Susan, my co-host, we're so in sync. I was watching on the PBS channel an artist making globes. She gets on the phone. Oh, she gets on the phone and she's talking to me and she says, I'm doing globes and I'm watching globes. I said, I'm watching globes as you're in the studio making globes. And then she did a post on
Love it.
Facebook. I mean, the synchronicities are just so crazy. And that's how, I mean, I know we're supposed to be together. Like we really connected. Like Todd really brought a lot of people together from zoology. And but the right people come in your life, but problems happen, but they're not like the end of the world. And the answers come right away.
Mhm.
Like different things I had to replace in the house, or issues with money or whatever. Now my house is almost paid off. It's like money came in, different things. We had a big windfall, something happened, but times can go slow and times can go fast, but the thing is to be happy and to be, you're happy, doesn't matter. And when you're in that high frequency and self-esteem and happiness, then when the problems come, which they will because it's earth, um you're still in the 3D. The answer comes, the 5D hits you, and
Mhm.
you get the answer to your problem in a miraculous way. And that I've seen a lot.
Lots
So
of magic happening right now. Lots of synchronicity.
oh yeah,
Yes.
lots of synchronicity, and yes, I think very shortly, I know people are probably, I'm feeling this. Yes, we're gonna know for sure there's aliens. Most people know, excuse me, but I think we're gonna get some announcements soon, within probably by 2025. I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure. I mean, they have announced it on the news, but nobody seems to be interested. Then a war starts, and they have it for 5 minutes, but they're gonna probably have to do it for a little longer, and then everybody will start getting excited. Nobody really got excited. They had a few hearings, but they're gonna have more things. They're coming to average people. I see ships all the time. I see hybrids. Um, they're coming,
The
but
very first ship, I was 7. I was
7.
7 years old, and it was very close. And I was standing outside with my brother, and we had just moved from Portugal to Massachusetts, and I was out on the stepped out onto the front door, and I realized, you know, it was for me never to forget who I
Wow.
am and why I was here. And I know they're real. And a lot of people, by doing our inner work and aligning with our truth, and when we sit in stillness and silence, we know the truth. That the disclosure is coming from in here.
It definitely is. And now I have dreams, instead of being abducted, I have dreams where I'm actually on council in a federation. And I'm telling them what I want to see in my heaven on earth. And
Mm-hmm.
I have these lucid dreams a lot. And apparently a lot of people said are going to this federation, and we're getting ready, but they wanted to make sure there was unity here,
Yes.
because you can't play sides. And so I think when the energy really changes and Christ consciousness opens everybody's heart, which it is now, but I think it's going to be even more so. And then we don't see like the Russia, China, we see it as one world. And then we can definitely connect with them, because they're not going to give us free energy and all these toys if we're going to use it for war.
Mm.
We're going to have to use it for peace. So that's why all this is happening. And So, we want to really focus on no negativity, negative influences on planet Earth, that we start to really unite. And it starts with us, with our friends, family. I can only be concerned with this. I can't heal the rest of the world, but I can be concerned with my area. I can, my heart can, it's good you have to know things, but you don't have to absorb yourself in all the negativity. You can just see it quickly and like, I know what to pray for now. But what you focus on, you're going to bring. So you want to kind of
Sure.
like focus on, spread it out.
Right, because more than more and more people are realizing that our thoughts, our actions, our words create our realities. And so wherever our thoughts go, frequency goes. So whatever you're focused on is where all of our energy goes. So if we want to create a different tomorrow where I focus on what I want to create and how I want to see heaven on earth.
So I'll tell you, everything is right, is perfect. Like my outside is perfect now because of my inside.
Right, it's your
And
reflection.
it's a reflection. I mean, I'm pretty happy. There's other, I might want to do some more traveling when I get my energy back. There's some, career I don't work, and I'm kind of thinking maybe I'd like to do some healing. I can do some healing, and I thought maybe I'd start a business. I do sporadic healing. Um, so I'm just kind of like trying to the next step of the journey. But I want to give it to, you can give it to God, but then you have to watch for the physical action. But you have to
Mhm.
watch for like the clues. Like, oh, I should talk to this person's giving me a card. I think I can connect with this person. Maybe I'll open up an office here because they're asking for, very cheap rent, or somebody. I do some healing in my home, some healing, I just do it mostly with my friends.
And do you use your hands? What kind of healing do you offer, Julia?
Yeah, I do I speak light language. So I do that. I put my hands on their back and I bring in the energy from source through my hands, through them. And then I imagine them healthy, because that's how I believe Yeshua imagined people totally healthy. And I bring the energy through. I do light language, and then I'll spend a few minutes. If it depends who they are, if there's in this, if they're, I try to help them with maybe a daily practice that they can. I try to empower them.
Hmm.
So I want them to imagine themselves healed and go through a cleansing, and so they have their own spiritual practice. They could do this themselves, or um, it just depends. Spiritual counseling. I had one customer who, I gave her a quote and she gave me double. And
Oh.
I tried to give it back to her, and I'm like, this is too much money. No, no, you'll. And she was my cat sitter. So it was like a mutual exchange. Like she actually paid for the watching my cat when I was away for like 2 weeks. But but most of the time I do it for free,
Mhm.
and I don't mind doing it. It's fun. But if I had a lot of people, I would have to charge, because then it's
Sure.
taking up my time. Mostly friends and family, I'm not going to charge. But if it's, um, it's a hard thing, because it's like, oh, now that I charge, now I have to really make sure this works. And I know it works. It's just God, it's always been so sporadic with me. But for it to work like constantly, like when you get downloads or transmissions, they come and they go. They're not always there.
Hmm.
So, but healing power is usually there. And if I just think of myself as a conduit, I'm just bringing God's energy. I know how it's God's energy coming through me. I'm like a pipe, and I'm bringing the energy into them. And then there's light language, which has code. And I have no idea what my light language is. It could be anything. Some people know what it what language they speak, and it comes in different, I get different languages. Um,
There's so many forms and it's so beautiful. So many sisters and brothers out there who are sharing their light. You can find, you can just go to YouTube if you're listening. You can just punch in light language. You
mhm.
can hear people transmitting. Do you and Susan have any shows coming up?
I think we have one with you. We had to discuss. I think I think you're going to be a guest. Yeah, that'd be fun. Um, I don't know the exact date and time, but we're probably going to get one or two going before we go back on the network. Uh, got to get out there, let the people know we're, get them excited
You're
about the
still
show.
here and
So
still
they,
doing shows.
yeah, Todd's been doing a lot of shows. And so, I don't, a lot of people are listening to this that are from my crew, friends of mine, and I guess, so I'll just pitch the network and say, Soology Network, has our show Transmissions and Anna's show Authenticity, and many shows. There's like a whole bunch of shows that we've done just for the network.
Yeah, on
And
sologynetwork.com.
soologynetwork.com, I think it's what, $12 a month, 144 for the year.
1212.
So you have like 30 shows of wonderful spiritual content and healing and meditation. And I think he's going to hook up, like it's going to be like Facebook without the
Mhm.
trolls. And we can have our own, if you join it, you can have your own page. You can even do your own videos. It's kind of like its own little YouTube. So Susan and I are not really technical. We're still learning. And we're supposed to get a meeting with somebody that teach us how to do the show, or there might be some producers. I don't know. But we're going to be on Facebook. I think Susan's going to do a YouTube, and um for transmission. So we're going to try, maybe we could do some shorter shows, like 15-20 minute shows that are just kind of like one subject. But she likes to do a panel. She likes to have a panel of people, different
Yeah,
opinions.
have a
um
different vibe. I like it. I'm so glad you came on, Julia,
oh,
and everyone got a chance to get to know you a little bit better. And there's so many people out there that having the same experiences, from sleep paralysis to maybe they can relate to the abductee, they can relate to not being able to drive, and panic attacks, and maybe they don't understand their healing powers. And it's just beautiful to have you out here telling everybody and being authentic with your truth. I thank you.
you're welcome. I'll be happy to talk with anyone. My Facebook page is Julia Yesner Weiss. I have my transmission underneath that, and Starborn support, and anybody wants to chat, um,
Messaged you. Can they message you on Facebook?
they can message me on Facebook,
Okay.
and that would be great. And they can friend me, or just let me know that you saw the show.
Sure. That you were an authenticity. I look forward to being on transmissions. Just send me a message as well, and
Yeah,
we can set up a date, and I
sounds like
could
a
be on the
plan.
other side of it. Have a beautiful Monday.
Thank you so much. Thank you,
Thanks,
everyone, who took the
everybody. I
time.
saw Susan was watching, and I saw, I think, Sherry.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I love you. I thank you. We'll talk soon.
Love you. Bye. Thank you so much.
Love you. Bye bye.